Welcome students. This video is the second part of strings and string manipulation, which is chapter 8 in your Tamil Nadu textbook society. So I want you to view the video 1 and then come to this video 2. So it's a continuation of the previous video. So first I want to explain to you what is a string, which I've already done it in the previous video, but still I thought I will just say a word about what is a string. String is a data type in Python. There are different data types in Python like integer, float, string and character, and as I told you, this string is a data type in Python. What is a string? It is a sequence of characters which are enclosed in single, double or triple quotes. Sequence of characters. The characters may be alphabets and numbers or combination of alphabets and numbers enclosed in single, double or triple quote. So there are different ways of enclosing the strings. When you put them in a triple quote, you can use it as a multi-line string. You can put many lines and you can enclose it in triple quote. One important factor that you should remember in strings is that the strings are immutable. Mutable and immutable means change. You can change something. That is mutable. When you can't change, it is immutable. Strings are immutable, which means you cannot change the data stored in a string during the execution of a program, but you can redefine the data in the string by replacing it with some other string. That is, you cannot change a single character. You cannot make a change in the data that is stored, but you can replace the entire string. You can replace the entire string with some other string. So to start with, I'm going to talk about the formatting characters which are available in Python. You've already done this in C++. We use a formatting character to relate to what type of data type you're using. If you're using an integer data type, you use %d. If you use a character type of data, you use %c. If you use a string, character is one single character. If you use a string type of data, a sequence of characters enclosed in single or double or triple quote, then you use %s. For unsigned integer, we use %u. For an octal integer, you use %o. For a hexadecimal integer, you use %x. It can be a capital X or a small x. For an exponential notation, you use %e, either capital E or small e. Floating point numbers, we use %f. Short numbers in floating point, you want to represent small values in floating point, then we use %d. So these are the different formatting characters available in Python. These formatting characters are also available in other high-level languages. Now I'm going to talk about what is escape sequence. Escape sequences start with a backslash and it can be interpreted differently. See, when you have a single quotation string, a string enclosed in single quote, and within the single quote you want to represent another quotation mark. You want to include another quotation mark within the single quotation mark or a double quotation mark. Then we use this escape sequence, and escape sequences are nothing but you have a backslash there. That's called as an escape sequence. See, when do you use that? Whenever you want to enclose a string within a single quote or within a double quote, and inside that single and double quote you want to have a quotation mark enclosed, then you use a escape sequence at that point. So I'm going to now show you an example how we are going to use this escape sequence in a string within triple quotes to display a string with single quote. Now look at this example here. The first example is a triple quote. Okay, what do you have? They said, comma, what's there? Okay, what's there is enclosed in double quote. Okay, and if you see, they said, what's there is in double quote. The entire string is enclosed in triple quote. So this will not throw up an error because you're using a triple quote to represent a string, and in that string there is a double quote. So when you enclose the entire string in triple quote, within the triple quote you can have a double quote without any escape sequence there. You look at the second example. What are you doing then? Within a single quote, you're going to use a single quote and you're going to represent within the single quote what's there, a double quote sentence as well as an apostrophe yes there. Okay, I repeat again, within a single quote, okay, you start with a single, end with a single. Within that single quote, the line which is inside that has a apostrophe yes, and it also has a double quotes data. So what happens in this case, you have to have an escape sequence, because if it is enclosed in a triple quote, it doesn't throw up an error. But since it is enclosed in a single quote, and within the single quote you're trying to use an apostrophe yes and you're trying to use a double quote, that apostrophe yes has to be with the escape sequence there. So you have a backslash to represent that it is a single quote within single quote followed by s. Now look at the third example there, string within double quotes to display a string in single quote using escape sequence. Now look at this example. You have a double quote. Within the double quote, you want to include another double quote and a single quote. Okay, so to include a double quote, you must have a backslash there and end it with a backslash, because you're going to have a double quote, and within the double quote you're going to have an apostrophe yes, and this apostrophe s also should be with the backslash, but it need not be, because you've already enclosed the entire thing in a backslash. So this is just a simple example to show that how we use strings using single quote, double quote or triple quote. The next slide I'm going to talk about the escape sequences used in Python. Escape sequences are special, they are known as white spaces, and they are there in all programming languages. In Python, the following are the escape sequences that we use to describe anything that we want to. For a new line character, we use a backslash, okay, and a double backslash for a another new line character. When you want to use it twice, then we use as a double backslash. Then we have backslash with the single quote to represent a single quote. Then we have a backslash the double quote to represent a double quote. Backslash A is bell sound, backslash B is backspace again, backslash F is form feed, N is line feed, R is carriage return, T is horizontal tab, and B is vertical tab. And to represent octal value, we use 3 times O, and then to represent a hexadecimal value, we use XHH. Okay, the normal escape sequences which we commonly use in Python programs will be the one that is used for a new line character, the one that is used to represent a horizontal tab, and the one that is used to represent a vertical tab. That is backslash T and backslash V respectively. The next slide I'm going to talk about an important function called as the format function. Okay, this format function is very versatile, very flexible, very useful in Python, because it helps you to format the strings and print them in a particular pattern. You want to print the output in a particular pattern. To get the output in the particular pattern, we use these curly braces as placeholders. Okay, I repeat again, to print the string in a particular format, we use these curly braces as placeholders. Okay, and if you look at that example there, you're going to input two integer numbers, num1 and num2, and you're going to store them as num1 and num2. When you want to print the sum of these two numbers, you're going to print the output as the sum of num1 plus num1 and num2 is the total sum. So to get it in that format, you use these curly braces as placeholders for the data that is being keyed in. The sum of the first curly braces represent number 1, and the second curly braces represents num2. Okay, full stop. Format is the function that we use within bracket num1 comma num2 comma, and within the bracket the expression that you want to do. Either you want to multiply num1 into num2, or num1 plus num2, or num1 minus num2, or some expression that you want to evaluate. That expression has to be enclosed within bracket. If you look at the example there, it's you're going to input number 1 to be 34, num2 to be num2 to be 54. So it's actually, it should be num1 and num2. So 34 plus 54, when you add them together, you get the total output to be 88. Okay, so this is a typical example of a format function where curly braces are used as placeholders for the data that you want to print at that point. I want to, for the first curly braces, I want to print num1. For the second curly braces, I want to print num2. And for the third curly braces, I'm going to print the sum, the expression that is enclosed within the bracket. I've said num1 plus num2, so it adds up those two values together and prints the total sum of num1 and num2 at the third placeholder. Okay, fine. So the next slide that I'm going to talk about is built-in functions in strings. Okay. The previous chapter I was talking about the built-in mathematical built-in functions and other built-in functions. Now I'm going to talk exclusively about string functions which are used in Python. The first is len function. What does this len function do? These are all string functions. Remember that. Len finds the length of the string. That is number of characters in the string. Now look at that example there. A is equal to corporation. Print length of A means you count how many characters are there in that word corporation. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 characters are there. Okay, how many characters are present there in the word? If there is a space is also taken into account as a character, and it will count the space as a character and print the total number of characters available in the string. Next string function is capitalize. This is nothing but to turn the first letter of the given word, to turn the first letter of the given word into capital. Okay, so if city is equal to Chennai, city dot capitalize, what does it do? It prints the word Chennai with the first character in capital letter. Right, that is capitalized. Just the first character alone is capitalized. Okay, the third one there is, we are going to talk about center function. What does the center function do? Center has got two parameters. First one is the width and the second one is what is the fill character that you want to give. You want to fill up with some character. What is the character that you want to fill up with? You have to give the character there. Now look at that example. str1 is equal to welcome. str1 dot center of 15 comma, I'm going to fill up the rest of the characters with an asterisk there. I can put any symbol. If I put a plus sign there, it will fill it up with plus sign. If I put a minus sign there, it will fill it up with minus. I've used an asterisk here, and total width is 15. So what is the length of this word welcome? You have 7 characters there. 15 minus 7, 8 spaces are remaining. So 4 space in front and 4 space at the back. These 4 spaces are filled up with this asterisk because asterisk is the character that I want to fill with. So it will put 4 asterisks in front, then welcome, then 4 asterisks at the back. The next I'm going to talk about find. Find is a very important string function, a very flexible string function which can be used. What does it mean? Find the occurrence. That is, you give a string and find the occurrence of a particular character or a particular substring. The position where the substring starts will be printed out. If that substring is not present there in the main string, it will give an output as -1, which says that the substring is not present there in the main string. Now look at this example, then you can understand better. Okay, this find has got how many parameters? Find has got 3 parameters. The substring, comma, start, comma, end. Find has got 3 parameters. Substring, comma, start, comma, end. If you don't give the start and end, it will start from the first and end and go till the end. The first occurrence only. It doesn't bother about the other occurrences. Where the substring will first occur there in the main string, only that it will check. Now look at this example here. str1 is equal to mammals. It is going to find out what is the substring I've given, MA. MA is a substring of the main string mammals. So when does this MA start there in the main string? At that position 0. At the 0th index itself, this MA is starting, so it is printing 0 there. You see, I have not given the start value there and the end value there. It doesn't matter if there is only one parameter. Start will start from the beginning, end will end till the last. On omitting the start parameter, function starts to search from the beginning. Now look at the second example there. Find MA, 2. So what is the start position I've given? Starting from the second index, find the position where this substring will occur, the index position where the substring will occur. Now look at that example, mammals, starting from the second index. So 0, 1, 2. Okay, from there, where does the substring MA start? It starts at the third position. Starting from the second index, where does this MA, the substring, will start? At the third index value. Okay, the next example there, you have the start value and the end value. Starting from the second index, ending till the third index, because last index means 4 minus 1, it is only 3. So if it in that case, the string is not found there in the main string at all, so it outputs an answer is -1. If the substring is not present there in the main string, it will output the value is -1. Okay, again the last example there, starting from the second position until the fifth index value, starting from the second index value until the fifth index value, where does this substring MA be placed? From the third index onwards. So you go through the slide again, you will understand it better. But remember that it has got 3 parameters. Then next I'm going to talk about is alphanumeric, is alphabet, is digit. This is very easy and very simple. Okay, is alphanumeric, it checks for alphabets, contains only alphabets and numbers. If the string has got only alphabets and numbers, okay, then it will return true. If it is not there, it will return the value false. Okay, alphabets and numbers, contains only letters and digits. That is, a space is alphanumeric character, so it will output the value as true. Okay, so if you look at that example there, str1 is save earth. str1 dot is alphanumeric. Is alphanumeric, the function returns false as space is an alphanumeric character. So if the string contains any special character, then it will return it as false. That special character there is a space, so it is going to return it as false. The next example, it says save one earth. Okay, save one earth. So what does that mean? It means that there is a letter also there is a number also. 1 is the number that is used. So because 1 is the number that is used, so what happens in this case? It will return the value true. When there is only letters, then it returns the value true. When there are letters with alphabets, then it will return the value false in is alpha function. Is digit function, what does it do? It checks for only numbers in the string. If there are only numbers, it will return the value as true. But if there are numbers with letters also, it will return the value false. The next slide, what I'm going to show you is lower. Lower is lower, upper is upper. Okay, lower and is lower is very easy. See, what does this lower do? Returns the exact copy of the string with all the letters in lowercase. You give all the letters in uppercase, it turns them to be in lowercase. You give all the letters in lowercase, it turns them to be in uppercase if you're using is upper. Okay, lower is, it will turn all the uppercase characters into lowercase character. What is lower? It will check if all the characters are in lowercase, it will return a value true. Even if one is in uppercase, it will return a value false. What is upper? It will turn from lowercase to uppercase. What is upper? If all the letters are in uppercase values, it will return a value true. Even if one letter is in lowercase, it will return a value false. What is title? It returns the title. It will print the given string in title case. Title case is one particular case that is available because all titles should be in dark letters. It should be bold letters. Okay, so title is one function that helps you to print your string in title format, right? What is swap case? If the letters are in lowercase, it will swap it to uppercase. If the letters are in uppercase, it will swap them to lowercase, just interchanging. Okay, this is very simple. Lower converts upper to lower, upper will convert lower to upper. What is lower? If all the characters are in lowercase, then it will return true. What is upper? If all the characters are in uppercase, then it will return the value true. If even one character is not in uppercase, it will return the value false. Then next I'm going to talk about count. Okay, count has got three parameters. The string, beginning, comma, end. Okay, you give the string and then count how many starting from the beginning until the end. Now look at the examples there. Print str1 dot count Raja. So the beginning is not given, end is not given. So it will start from the first and go to the end. It is going to count how many times the substring Raja is occurring in the Raja Cholan. It occurs 2 times, so it will print 2. Now look at the second example there. Count the small letter r. The small letter r is not there in the string, so it is returning the value 0. It is third example. It is going to count how many capital letter R is there. Only 2 times capital R appears, so it prints the value as 2. The next example, how many times the letter A appears there in the string? 5 times it appears, so it prints the value 5. The next example is A, comma 0, comma 5. Starting from the 0th index until the 5th index, how many times the small letter A appears? 2 times. So it is printing out 2. Then again this is the letter A starting from the 11th index onwards until the end. How many times the letter A appears? Only once, so it prints the value as 1. It's very easy. It has got 3 parameters. The string, comma, beginning, comma, end. If you don't give the beginning and end, it will start from the first and go to the end. If you give it, it starts from the given position until the end. Okay, then we have this ORD function. What is this ORD function? Returns the ASCII value of a given Unicode character. What is the ASCII value of the letter A? It prints it out as 65. What is the ASCII value of the letter B? It prints it out as 66. That is the use of ORD function. Just the opposite of the ORD function is the CHR function. It returns the character represented by the ASCII code. So if we give the ASCII code, the equivalent character will be printed out. For that we use the CHR function. CHR and ORD are just the opposite of each other. ORD will return the ASCII value of the given character. CHR will return the character equivalent of the given ASCII value. So these two are just the opposite of each other, and it is easy to understand. Now I'm going to talk about a very important aspect of Python programming, and it's very flexible, very useful, used in all string functions. In most string functions we use them. That's membership operator. In and not in are operators which are used along with the strings. Okay, in and not in are two membership operators. I'm talking about in, not in, or two membership operators which are used in conjunction with strings, and they are so flexible that they are it helps you to find out whether it is in it or not in it, something like that. Now look at that example there. I'm going to input a string and store the string under str1. I've already assigned the string str2 equal to Madras. Now I'm going to check if that string str2 is in the string str1. See, I may input one string, check whether the string Madras is there in the string that I have keyed in. If str2 is in str1, print found, else print not found. So look at that example. I have keyed in Madras Christian College. In Madras Christian College, is that string str2, that is Madras, present? Yes, it is present. So it says found. If it is not there, it says not found. Okay, so in and not in are two membership operators which are used in strings and are so flexible that you can almost use them to find whether a given string is present there in the main string or absent there in the main string. Now look at this example. See, this is a program to check whether the given number is a palindrome. All of you know what is a palindrome. Palindrome are those words which can be reversed, and if the reversed word and the original word are one and the same, then we call that word as a palindrome. For example, if you say Malayalam, if you reverse the word Malayalam, it again gives you the same word Malayalam. Then you know that the given string is a palindrome. Now look at that example. I've given input the string str2 is equal to a blank, right? Index is equal to -1. For I in str1, okay, remove the first character, and then from the first character you store it in str2 in the reverse order. Okay, so one by one each character is removed from the end. So if we input the string Malayalam, the last character M is taken out first, then A is taken out, then L is taken out. Each of these characters are removed from the end, from the last, and added up in string str2. Then what does it do? If str1 is equal to str2, then print the given string is a palindrome. Otherwise, print the string is not a palindrome. Okay, and you see that print line there, the given string equal to, there's a placeholder. You have to write the given string there, print the given string there. Then in a new line, the reverse string equal to, again another placeholder, because there's a new line character, it comes to the second line and it prints. And what does it do? It compares string 1 and string 2 and it prints the end result. What is the end result? The given string is not a palindrome, or the given string is a palindrome. So this program is very important. Invariably, this palindrome program appears in all public exams, and I want all of you to go through this logic. Don't by heart the logic, understand the logic in this particular program, and remember that what is palindrome? The reverse of the string should be the same as the original string, then we call the string as a palindrome. If it is not the same, we say that it is not a palindrome. Okay, so str1 and str2 are strings that are two string variables that I'm using. In str1 I will input one string. In str2 I'm going to add every last character from the string into str2. So as I keep adding the last, remove the last character, add it with str2. Second last character, add it with str2. Third last character, add it with str2. Finally, the entire string character is removed one after the other and stored under str2. So when str1 is equal to str2, that is the reverse string and the original string are the same, then we call them as a palindrome. If not, not a palindrome. Okay, so next slide I'm going to talk about another example in string functions, how to print a pattern. I told you this triangle formation is very, very important. You may get a pattern formation using an asterisk like this, or you may get a pattern formation saying 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Some triangle formation will be there for your final exam. It may appear in a 3-mark or a 5-mark question. But remember, you use a loop structure here. And this loop structure helps you to print the character one in one line how many characters, second line how many characters, and so on. I've used str1 is equal to an asterisk. Okay, I is equal to 1, while I less than or equal to 5. I print this asterisk less than or equal. First time I print it once, then I becomes 2. Second time I print the same asterisk 2 times. Then I becomes 3. I print the same asterisk 3 times. It goes on till the loop completes 5. That because there are 5 rows there, so it completes the row 5, finishes the program and comes out of the loop structure. So this is also an important program. Next I'm going to talk about to display the number of vowels and consonants in a given string. Okay, vowels, you know, A, E, I, O, U is called as a vowel, and consonants which are not belonging to vowels are called as consonants. You're going to enter a string and store it under str1. str2, I'm going to store the string A, E, I, O, U, both small letter and capital letter there. Then I'm going to initialize v is equal to 0 and c is equal to 0. Look at that initialization statement there, v comma c equal to 0 comma 0. You can do a multiple initialization also in one line, or you can put v is equal to 0 in one line. In the next line you can say c is equal to 0. But we have combined these two lines together and you've written v comma c is equal to 0 comma 0. To start with, number of vowels is 0, number of consonants is 0. For I in string 1, okay, you input one string, okay, and you take each character out from the string. If that character is there in string 2, then you add v equal to v plus 1, because what is string 2? String 2 are full of vowels. So if you separate one character out from the string and when it is equal to string 2, then you have found out one vowel, so you're going to increment the value of v. If it is not there in that string 2, then you increment consonant c is equal to c plus 1. That is only writing c plus equal to 1, v plus equal to 1. I repeat again, what are you doing? You input a string, take the first character out from the string, compare that first character with the string 2, that is a, e, I, o, u. If it is present, you increment the vowel value, v value. If it is not present, you increment the c value. So very simple. And look at that last print statement. We are using format function there, okay, and the first placeholder is for the given string, the second placeholder is for the number of vowels, and the third placeholder helps you to print how many consonants are there in the given string. Okay, the next slide is another example that you're going to see. This is called the ABCDarian series. Okay, ABCDarian series. What is this actually? You A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. This is a string, all in capital letters enclosed within quotes. It's a string and stored in str1. str2 is A, T, E. You're going to separate each character out from str1 and add A, T, E to the character that you've separated. That is A, if you separate out, you add A, T, E, it is A, T, E. 8, bait, Kate, date, like that it comes. This is just called as an ABCDarian series. Nothing in particular, but only thing separating each character out, adding ATE to each character and printing it out. That's it. It's a very simple program. You will understand how it works, okay, if you go through the program. The next program that you're going to see is to display. After removing the vowels from the given string, you display the string. That is, if you find a vowel there in the given string, you eliminate the vowel and then print the string. So now look at this example here. You are using a function subprogram, and what is the name of the function subprogram? Remove. Now come down to this example, to the last statement there. This is called the calling statement. Remove within bracket str1. How many arguments are there? There is only one argument. And how many parameters are there in the function definition statement? One parameter called s. So what happens here is, you are going to input a string. The moment you input a string, you are going to call for a function by name remove. So control is transferred to the function definition statement, where the function starts from that point. X is equal to 0 for I in S. Whatever the string that you have keyed in, remove each character from the string, and if that character is there in A, E, I, O, U, you pass. That is, if it is a vowel, you don't worry about it, because you are going to remove the vowel. Okay, if it is not a the string without vowels only, you are going to print. So you will, if it is not a vowel, you don't do anything with it. If it is a vowel, you remove the vowel from the string and print the string. So if you go through this example, mathematical foundations of computer science. Foundations of computer science. What does it do? It removes all the vowels there and prints only the consonants and not the vowels. So if the character that you separate out from the string is equal to a vowel, you don't do anything, you just pass off. If it is not equal to a vowel, you print it out. Okay, so this is very simple program, but go through the logic. This has a function subprogram by name remove. The name of the function is remove, and the first line there is a function definition statement. The parameter that you're passing is one parameter, that is yes. The argument that you're passing in the calling statement is str1. Okay, so the control goes to the function subprogram, evaluates the function subprogram, and then prints the string without the vowels. The last program that I'm going to teach now is count the occurrences of any single character in a string. How many times this particular character is appearing in the string? This again has a function by name count. If you come down, you're going to do, you're going to input a string str1. Okay, and input the character that you want to search. You may want to search one character A, or you want to search a character S. So input that character that you want to search and you store it under ch. You come to the next line there, x is equal to count of str1 comma ch. If you see, count is the name of the function, str1 is the first argument, ch is the second argument. str1 will relate to s there as the parameter, ch will relate to c as the parameter. So control from this calling statement x is equal to count of str1 comma ch will be transferred to the function definition statement, that is the first line there. Then c1 equal to 0, separate each character out from the string. If that character is equal to the character that you have keyed in, that is, I'm going to separate one single character, check if that character is equal to the character that you have keyed in. Then I'm going to increment c1 equal to c1 plus 1. That is how many times the particular character appears in the string. So you're going to increment using this counter c1. c1 plus equal to 1 if the character is equal to the character that you have keyed in. Okay, finally when the loop is over, you say return c1. c1 is returned back to the calling statement and stored under x. So what happens in the print statement, the last print statement, you have two placeholders there. The given character, which is the given character, whatever character that you have keyed in ch, okay, occurs how many times. Again the second placeholder is there, ch is the character that you input, and x is the number of times that you have counted the value in it, and it will print the given value there. Okay, so what are we doing here? We are trying to find out how many times a particular character appears in a given string. You understand this logic of this program and see you're using a function subprogram by name count. Two arguments are given, str1 and ch. That is your calling statement, x is equal to count of. Okay, on top you are giving s and c. Actually there is a small clarification here. c1 is equal to 0, and c1 is going to count how many times that character is appearing in the string. It is the value of c1 is passed to s x. So what happens, x takes the value of c1, because when I say return, it returns the value back to the calling statement. Which is your calling statement? X is equal to count of str1 comma ch. So the value of c1 is returned back to x, and the value of x will be printed in the place of the second placeholder. Right, so very easy program. Go through it and understand the logic. Don't by heart anything. And with this we come to the end of string functions in Python, and they are very flexible functions and very useful and easy to understand also. Don't by heart anything, understand the logic, go through each slide one after the other. So this chapter 8 comes to an end. There are two videos on chapter 8, video 1 and video 2. I want you to go through both the videos simultaneously, so that you will understand what is given in each video. Okay, please, hope I have given a proper explanation, and I want all of you to go through the video to understand the logic. Thank you children for watching.